Hey English learners, welcome back. So a while ago, I noticed something interesting. There were certain learners, not necessarily the ones with the biggest vocabulary, not the ones who knew the most grammar rules, but certain learners who just sounded more natural the second they opened their mouth. And at first I couldn't figure out why. It wasn't about knowing more words. It was something smaller than that. It was specific sentence patterns, specific little phrases that native speakers use constantly, almost without thinking, and most learners just never learn them because they're not usually taught in textbooks. So today I want to share 3 of these sentences with you. 3 patterns that, once you start using them, instantly make you sound more natural, more relaxed, more like someone who's actually comfortable in English rather than translating it. And I'm not just going to give you the phrases. I'm going to walk you through exactly when to use them, why they work, and how to start practicing them today. So stick with me till the end, because I also want to show you a simple way to make these become automatic in your own speaking. Here's the thing about sounding natural in a language. It's not really about vocabulary size. I've met learners with huge vocabularies who still sound stiff, like they're reading from a textbook. And I've met learners with more limited vocabulary who sound completely relaxed and natural, because they've mastered a handful of these small, flexible sentence patterns that natives use in everyday conversation. The reason textbooks don't usually teach this stuff is because these phrases don't fit neatly into a grammar lesson. They're not future perfect tense or conditional clauses. They're just natural speech patterns, little verbal habits that native speakers pick up simply from growing up hearing them over and over in real conversation. But if you didn't grow up hearing them, nobody's going to hand them to you, unless someone specifically points them out. So that's exactly what I want to do today. I actually first noticed this difference when I was studying abroad. There were 2 people in my class who were at a very similar level to each other, grammar-wise, vocabulary-wise. But one of them just sounded so much more fluent, so much more relaxed in casual conversation. And for a long time I couldn't put my finger on why. It wasn't until I started paying really close attention, like actually transcribing bits of conversations in my head, that I noticed it. This person used these little flexible phrases constantly. Things like, I mean, kind of, to be honest. Small connector phrases that don't really carry a ton of meaning on their own, but they completely change how natural your speech sounds. Meanwhile, the other person spoke in these very complete, very correct sentences, grammatically perfect but stiff, like they were reading an essay out loud instead of having a conversation. That was honestly the moment I started collecting these phrases myself, testing them out, seeing which ones made the biggest difference. And today I want to share the 3 that I think have the highest impact for the least effort. Before I get into the 3 sentences, quick heads up, I'm going to explain each one in detail, when to use it, and give you multiple examples, because I don't just want you to memorize a phrase, I want you to actually understand how to use it naturally in your own conversations. So let's get into the first one. Sentence pattern number 1. I mean, underscore. This is probably one of the most common natural speech patterns in English, and it's incredibly flexible. Native speakers use I mean constantly to clarify something they just said, to soften a statement, or to add extra thought mid-sentence. For example, someone might say, "The movie was okay. I mean, it wasn't amazing, but I didn't hate it." Notice how I mean here is used to add nuance, to slightly walk back or clarify the first statement. It makes the sentence sound more thoughtful, more natural, instead of just a flat single opinion. Another example, "I don't really like coffee. I mean, I'll drink it if I have to, but it's not my favorite." Again, I mean is softening and clarifying. Here's why this works so well for learners specifically. A lot of learners speak in these very short, definitive statements. "I don't like coffee. Full stop." That's grammatically correct, but it sounds a little blunt, a little flat. Adding I mean and a follow-up thought instantly makes your speech sound more natural, more conversational, because that's literally how native speakers process thoughts in real time. They say something, then immediately add nuance to it. Try this yourself. Next time you make a statement in English, pause and add I mean plus a small clarification or extra thought. Even something simple like, I like this song. I mean, it's not my favorite, but it's really catchy. That small addition changes the entire feel of the sentence. Sentence pattern number 2. That's kind of / sort of. This one is all about softening statements, which is something native English speakers do constantly, especially in casual conversation. Instead of saying something very directly and definitively, natives often soften it with kind of or sort of. For example, instead of saying this is difficult, a native speaker might say, this is kind of difficult. Instead of I'm tired, you might hear I'm sort of tired. It doesn't drastically change the meaning, but it changes the tone. It makes the statement feel more casual, more conversational, less like a flat declaration. This is especially useful when you're disagreeing with someone or expressing an opinion you're not fully committed to. For example, I kind of agree, but I also see your point. This sounds much more natural than a flat, I agree, or I disagree, especially in casual conversation, because it leaves room for nuance, which is exactly how real conversations work. We rarely feel 100% one way or another about everything, and kind of and sort of let your English reflect that natural uncertainty. A great way to practice this is, next time you're about to state an opinion, try inserting kind of or sort of before the main point, and notice how much more natural and casual it sounds. I kind of want pizza tonight. This is sort of confusing. Small addition, big difference in how natural you sound. Sentence pattern number 3. To be honest, this phrase is fantastic because it does two things at once. It makes your speech sound more natural, and it also buys you a tiny bit of thinking time, which is incredibly useful when you're speaking a second language and need a second to organize your thoughts. Native speakers use to be honest constantly, especially before sharing an opinion, particularly one that might be slightly unexpected or a little more direct. For example, to be honest, I didn't really like that restaurant. Or, to be honest, I'm not sure if I agree with that. What's great about this phrase is it signals to the listener that you're about to share something genuine, something thoughtful. And it gives your brain that extra second or two to actually formulate what you want to say next, without an awkward silence. Instead of pausing silently while you think, which can feel uncomfortable in conversation, you say, to be honest. And that phrase naturally fills the space while your brain catches up. This is actually one of my favorite techniques for learners specifically who struggle with speaking speed, because it gives you built-in thinking time that sounds completely natural, rather than an awkward pause or a filler sound like M. Let me show you how these 3 phrases sound together in a natural conversation so you can hear the difference. Imagine someone asks you, did you like the new cafe downtown? Without these phrases, a learner might say, yes, the coffee was good. The seats were not comfortable. Grammatically fine, but a little flat, a little robotic. Now watch what happens when we add these natural patterns. I mean, the coffee was really good. To be honest though, the seats were kind of uncomfortable. Same information, same meaning, but it sounds so much more natural, more like an actual native speaker having a casual conversation, rather than reading off a list of facts. I want you to try this yourself. Think of something you did recently, maybe a meal you had, a show you watched, a place you visited, and try describing it out loud using at least one of these 3 phrases. Don't worry about getting it perfect. The goal is just to start building the habit of reaching for these patterns naturally. So how do you actually turn these into habits, instead of just phrases you know but never use? Here's what worked for me. Every day for about 2 weeks I picked one of these 3 phrases and I made a rule for myself. I had to use it at least 5 times that day, even in my internal narration, even talking to myself. By the end of 2 weeks, these phrases started coming out naturally without me even thinking about it. You can do the same thing. Pick one phrase this week. Use it constantly in your head, out loud, in text messages if you're writing in English. Once it feels automatic, move on to the next one. Small, repeated practice like this is honestly more effective than trying to memorize a huge list of phrases all at once. So let's recap the 3 sentence patterns that instantly make you sound more natural. Number 1. Used to add nuance or soften a statement. Number 2. Kind of or sort of. Used to soften opinions and sound more casual. And number 3. To be honest, which not only sounds natural, but also gives you valuable thinking time in conversation. These are small phrases, but small phrases used consistently are exactly what separates natural-sounding English from textbook English. You don't need a bigger vocabulary to sound more fluent. Sometimes you just need the right small patterns, used at the right moments. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new here. I post lessons like this every week. And if you want more natural phrases like these, I actually have a whole free guide with even more natural conversation patterns. Link is in the description. Just enter your email and I'll send it right to your inbox. If you enjoyed this, I think you'll really like this next video, where I talk about the exact habit that helped me stop translating in my head completely. Click right here and I'll see you in that one.